there, grumpy.
All right, buddy. We are live. Welcome in latest episode of that SEC podcast brought to you by Twisted Tea and my Bucky. I'm your host, Michael Bratton. I go by SEC Mike on Twitter. Joined as always by my cousin Shane, who goes by Big Orange Falls on Twitter. What's up, yo, Tennessee Homer?
Hey, buddy, what's going on?
Oh, man. Just when you think the season's at an end, there's no SEC teams in the playoff for the first time in the history of this show, Shane. And yet, one thing after another happens. I'm like, my goodness, Shane and I, we got to hop on. We got to talk about this. And this, so far, Shane, we got the first debut national championship odds for all 16 SEC teams. So that's what we're going to talk about. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right, man. I told you yesterday I was going to be a little grumpy next few days as I transition to this healthy lifestyle, So it's taken some getting used to, but I feel a lot better today, Mike. And another day under my belt, So I'm pumped up, and like you said, online, I keep getting tagged and all this stuff that's going on, and you're right. You feel like the offseason is never really upon you in the SEC anymore. It's just constant action, constant movement. We got kids, jumping on board. We got kids leaving, coaches leaving. It's been a whirlwind today.
Right, and for anyone sitting around wondering, maybe they just missed the last episode or two, Shane, they're like, why is Cousin Shane grumpy, Cousin Shane? Well, here's a little meme he threw out here. The struggle is real. New Year's resolution and Texas Roadhouse rolls here. That's a picture says 1,000 words. You know what?
God, he's in love, ain't he? I mean, he is in love. He is every ball fan right now. For the listeners, this is Coach Hop just admiring his future quarterback, So that's me right now. I removed all of the it's kind of crazy. I removed all the stuff it's like I'm an addict. You know what I'm saying? And I can't have this stuff laying around or I'm going to take a hit. You know what I'm saying? So I got to get all this stuff out of the house. And my wife, she's kind of freaking out because she likes to keep a couple sweets around, but she's narrowed it down to a list of things I don't like.
Right.
And so it's like candy corn. It's mini marshmallows. That's like her go-to sweets. And I know that's not her favorites, but she's kind of figured chocolate-covered cherries. These kind of things I absolutely hate. So it's safe having around. So kudos to my wife. She's finally figured it out.
Yeah, and the Sandman, he says, keep it up, Shane. Keep up the great work. But he also, I don't know if he's trying to tempt you or not, but he said, how about that cinnamon butter down there at Texas Roadhouse?
I tell you what, that's the problem with the Roadhouse. By the time you get your meal, you're so full because I'm like 2 baskets in. You know what I'm saying? Is that real quick before we get into it? Since I can still talk about it, doesn't mean I got to eat it. But
right.
if you were to power rank, I don't know, your bread side, is there a list that you like? Man, I love this place, and if you don't have one, I've got one ready. If you want me to. Go ahead.
I figured you come prepared for something like this, Shane. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. You go ahead while I sit here and think about my favorite bread spots.
Right. Texas Roadhouse is my number one for me. Number two, I had O'Charlie's rolls, but I think they've kind of dropped here a little bit after COVID. So I'm going Red Lobster cheddar biscuits, number 2. And then
that was on my list. That was on my list.
Shit. Well, I'll just do 3. O'Charlie's is still there, but that's my top 3 right now.
John says, Shane, ready for that one.
Yeah. I think about it all the time, Mike. Hey, I went down here to a Cheddar's, honorable mention, their crescent rolls with their honey butter. Come on now. If you've not had it, you better get in there and try it.
Philip says, we going to power rank bread?
The Outback loaf? No, just kidding. No, I'm not. I'm not that fat, am I? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I think we've hit on all the bread that I could think. There's none that really jumps out to my. I do like Olive Garden endless breadsticks. Does that count?
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. a good choice, but it definitely needs to be discussed. No, I'm messing with you. I'm not going to knock your list, Mike. And, I'm not a big, believe it or not, I'm not an Olive Garden guy. I just think I think it's a knockoff on Italian restaurants. Now their soup Toscana, I can get behind some of that, but my wife loves it. She loves that place, and I cannot stand it. But the breadsticks, while I'm there, better damn believe I'm going to have a few of those.
Bassman wants to know, has Napier been fired yet? Not quite yet, but he may be after we get to these odds, Shane. So you ready to get into it?
Yeah, this ain't the Food Network, Mike. This is football talk, so let's get into it, Mike.
So this is the first SEC national championship odds that I have seen for 2024. And again, this is not to win the SEC. This is to win the whole shebang, Shane, the national championship. Last time the power rankings started at the bottom, went to the top. So let's just go in reverse order this time, because this is where the fans really get excited. National championship talk. And we got two. And I should have said this comes via Bet Online. Two teams, Shane, tied for the best odds to win the national championship out of the SEC. No surprise. We already know who that is, right?
Absolutely. Georgia and Tennessee.
You got one of them. It's Alabama and Georgia, both 5-1 odds to win the whole thing next season. Thoughts on Alabama, Georgia? And here's something to think about, with all this. And this is not a knock on Georgia or Alabama, because we know if they're not there, if they're not in the 12-team playoff, something's gone horribly wrong.
Right.
They got elite coaches, elite rosters, all that, elite fans and home field and all that. So I'm not saying that this is not what it should be, but odds does not necessarily mean that this is where things truly stand. The odds makers, they have to take into account how many Alabama fans are out there, how many Georgia fans are out there, and not even fans, but just people that maybe barely follow college football, that see odds, that are going to bet Alabama, that are going to bet Georgia. That all factors into these odds. It's not just, these odds makers have some kind of clue as to who's going to win it all. But to say all that, Shane, I'll throw it back to you. 5-1 odds for Alabama and Georgia to win the next national championship. Thoughts on that?
Well, I guess you could really ask, which one would you lean toward? I mean, I'm right there with you. Getting to the dance is going to be the hard part. Now, once you're in there and you punch that ticket, anything can happen. That's what we say about college basketball. That's what we say about the NFL. Just get to the playoffs, and that's exactly what is Georgia and Alabama going to be in the top 12? I think so. I think I would take money to say that they are, as opposed to that they won't make it. Now, once they get in there, are they favorites? Yeah, because they both got the team, brother. They both got potential. Both of them, are going to have a few pieces leaving, but they reload. They don't rebuild. So, yeah, I like these odds.
Yeah, and shout out Marty Funkhauser, gave us $5. He says, Mike, you look like a South Park character come to life. That's the full comment. I don't see it, but I do appreciate the $5. Kyle wants to know, hey Shane, how many calorie-free beers have you had today?
0. I've brought it down a little bit. I'm just doing about 3 right now. So I'm not completely out. We'll save it for the national championship.
Yeah, but you asked, who would you lean towards? I do believe, I could have this mistaken, Shane, but I think when these odds very first came out, I think Georgia was 5-1 and Alabama was 5.5-1. So I believe, I'm led to believe Alabama got bet early to knock that up to 5-1. But I think they had it right the first time. I would slightly, ever so slightly, Shane, lean towards Georgia being the pick to win it all. And it's wild, Shane, that a team. I just got done recording with our good friend Steven Lasson. That's going to be on the next episode. But he's saying, this feels like a revenge tour for Georgia. And I stopped him and I said, Steven, they've not lost an SEC regular season game in 3 seasons. How are we already on a revenge tour? But he's absolutely right. Kirby's got them kids brainwashed down there. You missed an opportunity to win 3 for 3. So we got to correct that and win 3 out of 4. That's going to be the message all offseason in Athens. And they're going they're going to buy right into that. So I think Georgia's the team to beat right now.
Absolutely. And I think you hit the nail on the head, just Kirby Island. You know what I'm saying? Once you're on there, it's the united front. It's the same goal. And, they got snubbed. And don't think that's not going to get brought up in offseason. That's not going to get brought up in spring ball and weight training. And it's just going to be constantly ringing through them that they don't respect the Georgia Bulldogs enough to put them into a college football playoff. So this is ammunition and a launch pad. So, yeah, if I'm giving a slight edge, I'm going Georgia myself.
Yeah, Adam says LSU's on a revenge tour to play some defense next year.
Or just keep some defense. I don't know what's going on over there, man.
And
there's a lot of smoke coming out.
$5 from Aaron. Appreciate you, Aaron. He wants to know who is the biggest disappointment in the SEC this year. There were a couple, Shane, but I think at the top of my list is probably Texas A&M.
Yeah.
I think that's fair to say. What about you?
That's exactly where I was going to go. I thought when we put Bobby Petrino higher up there and, they got all the pieces and we've made an argument that they can make a run for it and totally disappointed. I mean, barely making the bowl games again. Coach getting fired. So, yeah, I think this is an easy answer here. Arkansas close second.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't want to kick them while they're down. You know what I mean?
I
But
know.
yeah, they're right there with it. But back to these odds, Shane. So I just said Georgia's a team to beat. But I don't know where you lean on this. I don't even know how you could, Shane. But I feel like I was right about Alabama, that it is in a little bit of a decay. But you could just as easily say, well, how in the hell can you say that? They won the SEC. They made the college football playoff. But I don't know if you caught it, Shane, after the national championship. I mean, Nick Saban was just, we're happy to be here. This was what a turnaround. And I mean, that kind of bothered me. But to not be so negative, the point I'm trying to make, I think I was right. I think this is the worst Alabama's been in 10 years.
Yeah.
They still won the SEC. They still won the national, or they still went to the playoff, which is only 4 teams. So I think as long as they correct some of these issues, they correct the offensive line, Jalen Milroe's a little bit more consistent, there's no reason that they should be better next year. And to say the SEC champion should be better, that's a scary place, I think, for Georgia and the entire rest of the SEC because Alabama, they deserve to be up here. I don't know if I'd put them on the same plateau as Georgia right now, but they're not far off in my mind.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, I'm totally with you. If I'm thinking just attributes alone with the athletes that they've got coming back, you would just think that they would just naturally progress to be a better player, to be a better defender, to better offensive player. So, yeah, I'm right there with you. So there's a reason that Vegas is saying Georgia and Alabama are tied, because you could literally go either way. It's kind of a coin toss on those two temes.
Right. So number 3.
I don't know if they're going to win it, but you better damn believe it. They're probably going to make it to that 4 spot.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. So number 3 on this list, Shane, Texas, 9-1. So not double odds of Alabama, Georgia, but, there's a little bit of a gap here, 5-1 to 9-1. So Texas Longhorns, first official season in the SEC, being 9-1. Oh, I bet the rest of the SEC hates all this Texas love. We're going to find out if they're legit or not next season. But thoughts on Texas coming into this league with national championship aspirations, which I think is fair, given that they just went to the college football playoff, although their path to get there, we've all seen the schedule. That it looks like you couldn't ask for a much there's no easy path, but not, it's not Georgia's schedule, it's not Alabama's schedule, but
yeah,
Texas 9-1. Are you buying that right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think there's going to be some growing pains coming into the SEC for them and Oklahoma, but you're talking 2 programs that are almost built ready for this conference. And in fact, they've came over to Tuscaloosa and whooped some ass. They made it to the college football playoffs. Have they make a couple mistakes in their own conference? Of course, but now you're going to have a little bit of cushion. And I don't know if you have their schedule, close to you, but Texas' schedule is really nice compared to those two teams that we started out of the gate. I mean, you're looking at Georgia. Other than that,
and Georgia's at home too.
Maybe the Michigan. Yeah, I mean, those are the two games but you can lose them. I know it sounds crazy, but you could lose those two games and still be in the top 12 playoff run, So
right.
Yeah, I just like Texas odds just getting to the dance.
Right, and Sandman said it here. He says, I'm a Texas grad. I think we win 9 to 10 games. And 9 probably doesn't get you in the field, but 10. And I just like exactly what you said, Shane. It sounds weird saying this, but you could possibly lose 2 games and still make, like at Michigan and Georgia, if you win the rest, you're in the 12-team playoff. Yeah. So you're in the dance. And who knows? Maybe you only lose those games because your quarterback's hurt or your left tackle's hurt or something. And they're as long as they're back during the playoff, we're cooking here with baby, $100. Appreciate you, Mark. $100.
Hey,
thanks for visiting. This is the guy I was telling you about, Shane. He's launching a podcast. He's not yet done it here. Big Texas guy. He's going to host a Texas Oklahoma podcast. So I appreciate you, Mark, for $100. Didn't have to do that. I didn't ask you for anything, but we very much do appreciate that. And we're talking Texas just for you, Mark. We weren't going to talk about them, but until you gave us that $100. I'm just kidding, but.
Yeah. How many rolls can you get for $100? And that's the show, guys. See you tomorrow.
But yeah, I mean, it's going to be fascinating. I think. Yeah. I mean, it goes without saying how Texas, how Oklahoma do next season in the SEC. That's going to be one of the bigger storylines. But they play Georgia in Austin. I mean, that right there, I think, is already going to be. And then Georgia plays at Alabama. I mean, there's. Buddy, there's a couple games here that are circled on the SEC calendar. And
let me throw this out while you're talking about it, Mike. The 2 losses, too, may be a good thing because you got to remember SEC championship, it's going to be the top 2 teams, and it may be 1-loss programs, and then the 2-loss. Not saying Texas is 2-loss, it may be somebody else, but a 2-loss SEC team may not have to play that extra game before they go to the playoffs. So this may be the sweet spot.
Right, and I think we're going to get to that point, Shane, where some of these teams, if you're number 4 or 5 in the country, I think you don't want to go to the SEC championship. I really don't. I think you want to just go on to the playoff and not risk injury, not risk losing. But I don't know. We'll see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Now, next on the list here, Shane. This one surprised me. LSU with the 4th best odds in the SEC to win the national championship. 12-1. And this was, now maybe this is because they fired Matt House and they said, LSU's back, baby. I don't know, but they're cleaning house there. They had to do it. But with Jaden Daniels off to the NFL, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas, all off to the NFL, Mike Denbrock, the offensive coordinator, back to Notre Dame. I'm not saying we're out on LSU completely. And those fans probably love the fact that I'm down on them because, hell, I talked them up too much this last offseason. But at 12-1, I don't think that's great value for LSU. What's your thoughts on that?
A lot of question marks. You know what I'm saying? On that defensive side, of course, look at them this year. I mean, they had a lot of question marks, but they don't have Jaden Daniels. And I think Garrett's going to be a hell of a quarterback. They're still going to have a hell of a team. They're going to put up a lot of points. But if we could get some sort of life from LSU, and you're starting to see some of the players on that side of the ball, after this firing, making little hints, little jokes, things like that. I don't know what was going on exactly behind the scenes, but, if the team wasn't playing together, they weren't going to win together. So I think, obviously, a new chapter on that side of the ball especially will be a good thing with LSU. But 12-1, that's just a little too rich for my blood right now.
Right. I even like the next team, Shane, with a little bit better odds. Ole Miss, 14-1. Imagine we're sitting here, Shane, saying Ole Miss with the 5th best odds to win the national championship out of the SEC and saying, that ain't enough, brother, because all they're adding via the portal, all they got coming back, more importantly, the continuity on the coaching staff, 14-1. The Ole Miss Rebels, Shane. I am buying all the Ole Miss stock I can get. They have a path as well to get to the national, to get to the playoff, to get to the national championship. I am loving some Ole Miss right now at 14-1.
Nice schedule. The stars are lining up. I mean, fans are fired up. I mean, this. It feels like it's time. You know what I'm saying? And look, and listeners don't see it, but you got Furman, MTSU, Wake Forest, Georgia Southern, Kentucky. Who knows? 20. I mean, that's your first test, week 5. This is a good showdown, brother, and that one's at home. So I like it. Back half, the toughest games you're looking at: LSU away, Oklahoma at home, Georgia obviously sitting out there like a sore thumb. But late in the season, who knows what you're going to get with this game? So yeah, I'm loving this schedule and Ole Miss odds. So you got a little extra money in your pocket. This is a good team to put it on.
Yeah, I think I'm buying it up before those odds change, because I think
it will change.
I think they got it wrong with maybe like LSU and maybe even Texas there. I mean, not that Texas is wrong, but I think I'd put Ole Miss a little bit closer to 10-1, something like that, as opposed to where it's currently at 14-1. I think that's a little bit of a mistake. Now, I know you may not agree with the number, but you're going to agree with the next team, Shane. Tennessee, 25-1.
Yeah.
Again, those are pretty good odds to win the national championship. And that is with, of course, Nico, star quarterback, probably would have won 12 games this year if he was the starting quarterback. But a red-hot Tennessee Vol, 25-1. Got to play Alabama, got to play Georgia. Yeah. But, hell, you knock off one of those teams, I think you're probably a lock to make the college football playoff. And as long as you get in the dance, you got to like their odds to make some noise there with Nico.
Yeah, again, it's 2 losses. You know, how many times have you watched as a Tennessee fan, you lose early to Florida Gators and your season's over, SEC championship's not going to happen. You know, that doesn't happen anymore. You're looking at Tennessee Vol's schedule here, and it's daunting a couple of times. There's a couple key games here, but beyond Georgia and Alabama, which maybe even Oklahoma, what teams is Tennessee fans really worried about right now, especially knowing that they got Nico? And I know other fans other than Tennessee are getting tired of hearing this name, but it is an important piece of Josh Heupel's offense that they've not had here this last season, and it's shown, especially in that red zone.
Yep, and no back-to-back road games. I think that's critical.
Yeah.
Buddy. They're tired of hearing about Nico now. They may have to tune out next season, Shane, because he's going to be taking over college football. You just wait for it.
Absolutely, and that's the key, man. Tennessee's got linemen coming back. They got weapons coming back. Brews coming back. They're starting to fill up around him. So that's something. As long as they stay healthy, knock on wood, that offense is going to be a world of difference than they were this season.
Michael Riley says October 12th. That seems like a lot. They're hosting Florida. You can never count on Tennessee to beat Florida. You just can't. But
at least it's not the swamp,
All right, and now this one really surprised me as well, Shane. Next on the list, Texas A&M, 33-1. I'm not buying it, but I do like Mike Elko. I like a lot of the pieces. I think they're a year away. It's surprising to see them over a couple teams we're about to hit on here, but maybe this is, people buying into A&M, the elite fan base, getting potentially an elite coach. Love the offensive coordinator hire. So if this is a year one, I mean, if they win 9 wins is not out of the realm of possibility for Texas A&M. Maybe that gets you into the conversation. Probably got to get to 10. But, again, same things. I mean, no back-to-back road games. Some very difficult games here, but most of the difficult ones are at home. I mean, the road games, Florida, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Auburn, and Arkansas on a neutral field. But you could win all those games.
Yeah, I mean, just the fact you don't have Georgia and Alabama on here,
Yeah.
is a good thing. So, yeah, I get it, Mike, and I'm not trying to get sucked into this web again. This Texas A&M hot train that seems to happen every season. By SEC media days, I'll probably have them third in the SEC, but not right now, man. I am not punching that ticket.
Yep. And I can already see it shaded the comments here. The Texas and Tennessee fans are just battling over who's UT, who's TU, UT's in Austin, UT's in Knoxville. I mean, this could be so much.
You remember the history lesson? I should do that one again about the real UT,
Yeah.
maybe we'll fire that one up here in the off season.
All right, how about next on the list, Shade? The Oklahoma Sooners, 40-1 to win it all in their first season in the SEC. And I've heard a lot of people, Shane, they're sitting here saying, well, my goodness, Oklahoma's got a tough slate. I don't know. Temple, Houston, Tulane, all at home, Tennessee at home. That ain't easy, but it's not a murderer's row either. I think 4-0 is possible.
Yeah.
At Auburn, Texas in Dallas, South Carolina at home, at Ole Miss, Maine, at Mizzou, Alabama. It's getting rough here.
Yeah.
It's getting rough. But I'm just saying, I'm not betting on them to win the national championship, but I'm not betting on them to go 6-6 like some other people. I think Oklahoma's going to come in this league with something to prove, kind of like Missouri did back in the day.
Yeah.
And they won a damn East their first 2 years. So I think Oklahoma's going to get in here ready to play.
Yeah, that's a good point, man. When Mizzou came over, that was kind of the narrative. Nobody had them picked, and then all of a sudden they're in the mix. So, yeah, Oklahoma, it's going to take me a little while to kind of figure out where they fall in the ranks of the SEC, but Mike, the schedule starts out really nice, and who knows? You never know. By November, you're talking about a totally different football team, and those are going to be the games that people remember. When you look at Mizzou, you look at Alabama, you look at LSU, those are going to be some tough matchups, but they're going to be marquee games and opportunities for Oklahoma to win some fans over.
I think the toughest thing for Texas and Oklahoma, Shane, is just going to be week in, week out, the grind of the SEC. We've talked about that a lot, just how anyone short of Vanderbilt can catch you, particularly if it's on the road. But also the fact that I think we know all too well, Shade. Every SEC fan can they hate everybody. So you step onto their field, they're going to hate you. And you, I mean, Oklahoma and Texas they may be ready from a coaching and a player standpoint, but it's different when you get on that field and you're in Neyland Stadium, when you're in Gainesville, Florida, when you're in Athens, Georgia, you're in Tuscaloosa. It's different, and it'll certainly be an adjustment from Kansas and Oklahoma State and all these teams. You know what?
No, absolutely. And what was their odds again? What was the odds in?
40-1 for Oklahoma.
I mean, can you convince me that they? Can you convince me that they do make it, at least to the top 12?
Oh, I certainly think they can make the top 12.
Yeah.
The defense got, get a little bit better. They got a 5-star quarterback that started the bowl game, Jackson Arnold. If he takes a step up, they're right in the middle. They got all kinds of weapons down there at Oklahoma.
Yeah. All right.
Now, here's the woodshed. I think these are the best value bet on the entire board. You're going to love this one. Well, let's see. You may be off the bandwagon. I don't know. But Mizzou, Shane, 50-1. And you find me a loss on here, Shane, short of at Alabama, which they'll be underdogs. And hell, I'm not saying they can't beat Alabama. I think the team we saw in the Rose Bowl, I think they can beat them. But
Let me get over here, Mizzou fans.
Obviously, it'll be a little different here. But I'm trying not to go overboard with the hype. But I think another 10-win season, very realistic for Mizzou.
Shit, Mike. I mean, I'm trying to find the loss there. And like you said, the toughest matchups, they got bye weeks right before it. So between the Auburn, right after the Alabama game, they'll have the bye week. Then they've got another one. Where's the other one? A&M, was it? I believe, yeah. Right. So after first 4 games at home are just going to be bloodbaths. Mizzou's going to be sitting high and pretty. That A&M will be a tough matchup. But if they get past that one, brother, there's a real chance that they don't have a tough matchup till October 26th. I mean, who knows what Hugh Freeze is going to do with Auburn? I don't know if he's going to be coaching that week or recruiting. But, if we get to Alabama October 26th and you're undefeated, how are you not going to make the college football playoff? Even if you lose to Bama, this is your best bet. Because did they lose their quarterback? No. Did they lose their best receiver? No. Did they lose some athletes? Absolutely, but they also got a lot through the portal, brother. I'm loving Mizzou. I know a lot of people are tired of the Mizzou Shane, but I think he's around for one more season.
Right. And the only question I would have about Mizzou, and, I think maybe they answered some of it in the bowl game, but and certainly towards the latter half of the season, but how do they handle expectations? How do they handle pressure that comes with yahoos like you and I saying they better win 11? You know what I mean? Like that's completely foreign to this program in recent seasons. So I'm not saying they can't do it, but it's a new challenge. We've seen many. That's the beauty of college football, Shane. A lot of we hype up A&M every damn year. They fall short. They can't handle the expectations. Can Mizzou handle the We've seen many Tennessee teams. We've seen Auburn teams. All these teams fail to live up to expectations. Now Missouri has got those expectations. That may be the toughest thing they have to overcome next year.
Yeah, it may be. And, again, the way their schedule's set up, they've got an opportunity to ramp up slowly. They don't have to – they're not thrown in the fire with a top 25 team, you know what I'm saying? So That's the good thing. And by the time they get going week 5, Mizzou should be right in the mix of things.
Now, how about this one, Shane? Auburn, 100-1 to win the national championship. And crazy things happen on the plane, Shane. I'm not saying put your mortgage on Auburn 100-1, but year 2, Hugh Freeze, we got to get him locked in. Hopefully he's not doing recruiting all off season. He's, hopefully they land a quarterback at least to compete with Peyton Thorne. I think that's a must. But an infusion of talent, top 10 recruiting class. They're desperate for help at a lot of skill position, and that's exactly what they attacked via recruiting. I think it's certainly a year too early to be talking national championship, but they put the odds out. So Auburn, 100-1, and they looked bad at times, but hell, they gave Georgia, all they could handle. They should have beat Alabama, who just went to the college football playoff. There is something in this program that they've not unlocked yet, and maybe they unlock it next fall.
Yeah, and I just think, as much as I give Hugh Freeze a hard time, there are some games you're just like, he's a damn wizard out there. So you can't mark Auburn. Even Alabama. It came down to a 4th and 31 miracle. Auburn's going to be a young team. They do got a lot of skilled athletes coming in that may be asked to do more than some other freshmen across the country. But if anybody can get this program on the right track, it's Hugh Freeze, and making it to a college football playoff, that'd be a tough one. Do you see any scenario where they end the season? Do you got their schedule? I'm just curious now.
Yeah, let's throw it up here.
Let's say worst case scenario. They only lose. I see the 2 losses, but
right in the middle there.
Right, yeah.
And then Alabama on the road. It's going to be tough. I think the goal should be 8-4.
Yeah,
for Hugh Freeze and company.
Yeah,
and who knows? Maybe even do better than that. But
it's still early. We're going to give them some time, but we're talking college football chance here. 100. It's good money if you're looking at the schedule and saying, hey, they catch fire at the end, because you look at that schedule short of Alabama, maybe A&M. We don't know what's going to happen there, but. They could close out this season pretty strong and then make that case that they belong in a playoff and so on and so forth. It's teams like this that I watch, slow starts, slow endings, the meat of their schedule's in the middle. If they could pull a couple upsets there, then who knows? 2 losses. I know we keep saying it's beating a drum, but that's what we're talking about as an Auburn fan.
The only problem with this schedule, though, Shane, if they lose to Georgia, if they lose to Alabama, both on the road, I don't know that they got the resume, unless Oklahoma, A&M, Mizzou or Kentucky,
Yeah.
unless one of those is like a top 10 team. I don't know that you're going to look at this and say, well, they beat Cal, they beat New Mexico,
Yeah.
they beat Arkansas. You know what I mean? Like, I
Well,
think
yeah.
they've got to upset someone big time, I think, to get in there.
Well, I think for that scenario though is they have to beat Alabama. So
Right.
they've got really close last couple of years, and I know it's easier said than done, but this Iron Bowl, you just never know what's going to happen, brother.
Yeah, Green Wave says you better watch out for those Lobos. Yeah, that's true.
Oh shit!
And then we got two here, Shane, at 125-1 to win it all next season. The Arkansas Razorbacks and the Florida Gators. Now, let's throw up the Gators real quick, just because it's. I mean,
There it is.
I feel bad for Billy just looking at this thing. You know, Miami and A&M, first 3 weeks of the season. At least they're both at home. Central Florida at home, at Tennessee, Georgia, of course, in Jacksonville, at Texas, LSU, Ole Miss. I mean, just mine after mine after mine after mine. Yeah, I mean, we should not be talking national championship with Florida just yet.
No, I wouldn't quite put the mortgage on this one. That especially the back half of the schedule. But if you're looking at the front five, there's a shot, man. They run the board. They beat Miami. They beat Sanford. They beat A&M. They beat Mississippi State. They beat UCF.
Yeah.
With KJ Jefferson down there now, and then you got the Vols on the road, which how that game usually. I mean, Florida Gator fans are not worried about that one at all. I mean, they could lock up their bowl game, by October 12th. The problem is, like you said, with Kentucky, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Ole Miss, Florida State. I mean, golly, that is a gauntlet right there.
Let me ask you this, Shane. Truthfully, who do you think Florida fears most? Tennessee in Neyland Stadium or Kentucky in the swamp?
Oh man,
I think the answer is Kentucky.
I think Kentucky, man. I know it sounds crazy, but they have no respect for them Vols, and why should they? You know what I'm saying?
Right. They own them.
13 damn miles, I'll tell you, brother. I ain't betting on them no more or against them.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate you, Brandon. He just gave us $5.
Thank you, brother.
No comment or anything.
Cousin Brandon, appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. And then Arkansas, they're also 125-1. Again, I don't think we should be contemplating the Razorbacks to win any kind of national championship, but I mean, they've got a nice little schedule here too. Arkansas, Pine Bluff, Oklahoma State. It is on the road, but UAB at home. If they could go 3-0, get some real momentum. Hugh Freeze, Auburn, they're just as likely to beat Georgia as they are to lose to Arkansas. I mean, there's no figuring out Auburn. So it's not one where you can't win it. Of course, A&M's had your number, but maybe Jimbo had Arkansas figured out. I don't know. But yeah, if you can win that one, there's an opportunity to get some big time momentum here.
If you had to pick one, Mike, the Florida Gators or the Arkansas Razorbacks, which one you going with?
I think Florida.
Yeah.
Which I'm not very confident in saying that, but I don't know. I'm just so down on Arkansas right now.
There's something about Florida, man. Being told that they're going to suck, it's like, I mean, how many games have you watched? And like, this guy doesn't miss a field goal. Then all of a sudden he yanks it left. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to convince us. Everyone is trying to convince us that the Florida Gators are going to be garbage. But what if they're not? You know what I'm saying? What if they become the damn story of 2024?
Right. And there's no Georgia here. There's no Alabama here. And Purple Orca, I think he said it perfectly. Florida, better, but Arkansas' schedule is better. So that could be the difference there. You know what?
Yeah. No, you're right, brother. You're right. I still ain't putting money on either one of them.
Now, how about this ultimate wild card, Shane? Kentucky, 200-1. And we may need to, stop the Kentucky hype train that we've had seemingly every offseason. That'll probably get them to the college football playoff. But if Brock Vandagriff is awesome, They just got Georgia's middle linebacker, Dumas Johnson. I mean, Kentucky is annually a difficult out for many in the SEC. Tough slate here. Got Georgia the first 3 weeks of the season. That's unusual. You do get them at home at least, but I'm looking at this schedule. All the home games outside of Georgia, I think, are winnable. Yeah. Some of the road games, all the road games look difficult. Playing in the swamp, but you own Florida. I don't know. I mean, this is a rough slate as I'm looking at the away games.
Do you think that they should be higher than Florida and Arkansas? I think
I definitely do. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would move them up a little bit, but still, I mean, 125, 100, no more than that. But this is a team that you may see move a little bit. 200, that's an opportunity, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but
I'd probably put them on the same plane as Auburn, 100-1.
Yeah,
I think that's fair for Kentucky.
Again, we're basing it off a quarterback that we've not get to see start yet. There obviously there's the defense is taking a little bit of a step back, I would think, but I don't know, man. Kentucky's another one. I do it every year. It's like the A&M. Well, we don't have East and West, but back in the day it was the A&M and the East. I'll be convinced by media days that they belong as well.
You know what I think it is, Shade? I think it's, those great fans. They send you so much of that Kentucky bourbon. We drink enough of it. We can talk ourselves into that team being great. You know what?
That is right. Absolutely.
All right, how about...
people asked me when I was doing my quote-unquote sober 2024, that was one of the comments, it was like, Shane ain't going to quit drinking. He's got all that Kentucky bourbon.
All right, how about South Carolina, Shane? 250-1. And again, that's probably, I don't know, maybe about right for them. But I'm looking at their home slate. Well, some tough ones. I mean, a lot of tough, difficult road games as well. But I like a lot of the home games, getting some of your tougher competition like LSU, Ole Miss, A&M, and Mizzou, getting them all at home. Doesn't mean you're going to win them all or anything, but Williams-Brice can be the great equalizer. And at Kentucky, at Alabama, I mean, hell, that's a loss. But at Oklahoma, they have won at Clemson in recent history. It's not undoable to have a winning record on the road there for the Gamecocks.
Cocktober, you got Ole Miss, Alabama, and Oklahoma. Shit, son. Oh, buddy. They survived that one, man. They didn't think it happened. But, yeah, that is a rough stretch right there. And again, it's so far out. We need some players to emerge. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we said this about South Carolina this year. There was some dudes on that roster that took that step and now, going to be playing in the league. So that's what we need. We got to keep doing that. Keep producing, NFL talent, and because you're going to need a shit ton of them.
Shane, I'm not trying to be mean. I swear, it's New Year. I'm trying to be optimistic.
Yeah.
If they go over in October, which is very realistic, given that Ole Miss top 10, Alabama top 5, hell, Ole Miss probably top 5, Oklahoma top 15. If they go over, we have got to retire October, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They got a thing where they do like something cool for a little bit, and then after a while you're just like, yeah, we need to quit that. You know what I'm saying? You remember Helinski used to have the threes and stuff, which was a good story and a good reason, but it was like, how long are we going to keep this trend up? It's like, let's go on to the next one.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the next one, Shane, Mississippi State 500-1, and again, that makes sense. New coach, new system, but hell, Shane, I'm looking at their home games. A ton of winnable home games here. Now, the road games,
shit,
they basically all look losable.
Yeah.
So, again, it's way early to be talking playoff for Mississippi State. But this season is all about the new system, new quarterbacks, see what we look like, getting away from god-awful Zach Arnett, that one-year disaster. I just want Mississippi State to be fun again. Let's get some high-scoring games, entertainment. If we can engineer some, 30, 40-point games, even, we want to win them all. But even if we lose like 35-38, I mean, that's entertainment at the very least. That's what we should be going for.
Well, I mean, and they're starting to get a little talent. They're starting to pick up little talent along the way, and that's what Mississippi State needs because you're not gonna. Last year you wouldn't watch Mississippi State Toledo. This year you will. Why? Because they're fun to watch. When they go against the Florida Gators, they'll be fun to watch. They may not win that game, but damn, they're going to put some points up along the way. So that's what Levy and company are going to be bringing to State, and I think there's going to be some surprises. I'm telling you right now, Mike, there's going to be a couple of games State's going to catch some dudes off guard, and they're going to wish they didn't catch Levy at the wrong time.
Now, Shane, Vanderbilt, 1,000-1. I mean, that's worth throwing a buck on it, right? I mean, you got
to. We were one season off, Mike. This is the one. This is the run. Do they win? Do they win an SEC game here?
I'm trying to look here.
I mean,
they get Bama at home, Texas at home. I mean, South Carolina, maybe South Carolina at home. That's kind of the one I'd have circled that we might be able to steal one. But no, given what's happened this offseason, Shane, I don't think Vanderbilt gets an SEC win.
What do you think their odds are getting to just a bowl game?
Huh? Like
901, 800? No, really. What would you give it? Like 150 to 1, 200, maybe 200,
250 to 1, probably.
Oof, man, I hate it. I absolutely hate it.
Now, maybe you beat Virginia Tech. I think this is Norfolk, Georgia State. We're playing at, Georgia State. I mean, that's a SEC evil right there. Yeah. But if you could get those three, you get Ball State, you got 4. You just got to pull 2 upsets. They did it 2 years ago. They beat Kentucky. They beat Florida. I mean, that's all you got to do. I don't see that, but I'll downgrade 200 to 1, Shay. 200 to 1.
Okay, all right. I still ain't taking it, but right now, and I don't mean to be grumpy cousin Shane, but I am with Vanderbilt. It's a tough spot because they shown that they could be good. As much as I hate James Franklin, when he was down there, Vanderbilt was a scary team for some, you know, especially Vol fans. But it shows you that there is opportunity. You bring somebody in like I hate to say it, but I mean, there's no way he'd do it. But Deion Sanders, you bring him to Nashville, and with that city, oh my gosh, man! I mean, it'd take 2 seasons, and then you'd be a powerhouse. It's just you need something like that. You've got the pieces around you, but they got a brand new stadium, even So it's just it pisses me off. Vanderbilt's not better.
Yeah, Bobby, he says, save your buck. No need to put that buck down. And then JT says, Vanderbilt joining the pack too, which. Oh,
shit.
Well, man, hey, so those are the first national championship odds for the SEC for 2024. That's all I got on this one, brother. You got anything before we hop off the line?
No, just been thinking about those rolls, but sometimes I think it's best just to go to bed, Mike.
500 to 1 that Shane does not eat one of these damn rolls in the next week.
Yeah, I'd like to see those odds. They'd be like 12 to 1, probably. Are they even open? That's what they're doing. They're Googling what time and the distance of my house to Texas Roadhouse. I just go to bed, Mike. I've already caloried out. I've had my meals, drank my waters. I'm ready. I think I'm just going to just chalk it up. Well, tomorrow I won't be grumpy, I promise.
All right. Well, stay strong, brother, for another day. I appreciate you for joining me. Appreciate each and every one of you for hanging out, especially those on the live show. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right. See you guys. Go Vols.